John, it's been a while. It's been a little bit. We've been seeing each other for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's all right.
Are you ready for questions?
Always.
God damn it. All right. Well, are you ready for the Rage Select podcast?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
That's why I came over here.
That's what we're doing. That's good. It'd be weird.
That's why I braved the wilderness
That's
and
right.
the current atmosphere.
Yes. You've broken your
Risked my life.
your social isolation, and you've come over here to sit 3 feet from me.
I hope you appreciate the things I do for you, Jeff.
I can move the couch like 6 feet in that direction.
No, you're
out of
fine.
Out of the room.
You're fine.
We just yell at each other the entire time.
I mean, we do.
Hey, John, what do you think about Kamen Rider? Do you like that?
Fuck off.
Oh, okay.
No.
I like the idea of us doing a podcast where the both of us are just standing outside of my house in the parking lot, like yelling at each other, with like a big line on the street that shows 6 feet between the two
And
of
the
us.
microphones are in the direct center of that line.
That's
so
right.
that neither of us are actually anywhere near our microphones.
That's right. Yeah. No, that's how we're going to do it from now on.
Oh, sounds good.
So, welcome back, everybody, to the new and improved Rage Select podcast on Rage Select. I'm Jeff.
John.
So, John, I don't know about you. I haven't really been doing hardly anything over the last couple. I mean, over the last week, I've been playing a lot of Nioh 2. Nioh 2 has just kind of eaten my brain. But, like, you know, I mean, there's not a lot. It's like they put Rise of Skywalker on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I don't care. And they put Frozen 2, and I don't care. And they were going to be putting some movies out, some like movies that are in the theaters out to like rent at home or something.
Yeah. Universal, I think, did that. Did that with a bunch of their movies.
Yeah. But mostly just sitting around. I mean, I think I've said it before, but like my life hasn't really changed all that much. I was kind of staying inside of my house and not doing anything. I'm a pro at staying inside my house and not doing anything. So.
Yeah, no, you are. Don't know what I've done this last week.
Time just slips away.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, you know, it's funny because everyone's all talking about like, oh, I'm working from home now. And I'm like, I've been working from home since October.
Yep.
And I thought October was last week. So, you know, imagine my surprise to find out that we're already, what is it, March?
Yep, end of March. We're actually in the middle of like a crazy amount of video games coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, Nioh and Nioh 2, Doom Eternal, Animal Crossing, Persona 5, the Royale. I mean, like, hey, man, if you need to stay inside for like a month and a half and not talk to anyone or have any interaction, I recommend Persona 5, the Royale edition, which is like takes an 80-hour RPG and then adds like 20% more content to it. So
Yeah.
there you go. There's a whole 100 hours of just sitting around your house not doing anything.
But yeah, no, it's like I'm literally trying to think of like what all have I did the other night start to get out some of my old consoles.
Okay.
Because I literally, when we moved into the apartment, I left them boxed up.
Okay.
It's like one of the things that I just haven't unpacked, and like I know what's in that. It's one of those things where you know what's in that box, you know you're going to need it at some point, so you leave the box out, but you don't unpack it because you don't really want to at that moment. And then one day you're like, I really should get that stuff out because I really want to play Def Jam Fight for New York.
There's a closet behind the green screen behind you that is full of literally what you just said to me.
Yeah. And so like I got out like my Xbox, my N64 because Def Jam Fight for New York, people who made Aki Corporation was behind that game.
All right.
They made the WWF No Mercy, WWF or WrestleMania 2000, WCW NWO Revenge, WCW World Tour, NWO World Tour. Like they made all those games. And those are all on the N64. So then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get my N64 as well. You know what? I might as well get my GameCube out as well and play something on that too.
Ooh.
And then proceeded to not hook any of them up because I was like, oh, right. None of these are HD. And so my current TV living room situation, I can't physically hook them up.
You don't have like an AV to HDMI like adapter?
No. And then I was like, well, I've still got like my computer monitor.
Yeah.
My old school Dell computer monitor actually has component and composite connections in the back.
Okay.
So I can actually use that as a TV.
All right.
But like that area is like very cluttered. And I'd have to actually clean it up to get to those AV ports.
All right.
I'm too lazy. So like I got out all these consoles and games and stuff of stuff that I was going to play.
Right.
And then didn't do anything with it. Didn't do a goddamn thing with it. It just went, all right, well, yeah, there you go.
I own all those.
I'm gonna read some comics, I guess. Like I think that's what I did. I think I read comics and then watched. I've been watching some TV. Wrestling. Obviously, that's still on. Really weird. WWE is like wrestling, but there's like no crowd.
I watched Colbert do his thing with no crowd, or no, and then also Last Week Tonight had a thing with no crowd. It's so
all the shows in New York are no crowd.
Right, but it's so strange. Like I was like, I don't need all that noise in the background. Then I watched it and I was like, this is bizarre.
You think that's bizarre? Watch wrestling without it. It is extremely bizarre because you also realize that wrestlers don't know how to talk without a crowd to talk to.
Oh. Do they do it? Do they like get up to an empty audience and they're like, "Oh, you are losers! We're gonna beat the champ."
No. So I mean, they acknowledge that there's no crowd, but when they're talking, like if it's two wrestlers talking to each other, they don't look at each other.
Right.
They're looking somewhere in the non-existent crowd talking. And it's just really weird.
Do they do that thing? I noticed on one video that I watched, they do a thing where they like pause for like the audience to react, but there is no audience to actually react.
Now, there's a few wrestlers that did that as a joke.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple wrestlers that were like, "Oh, if this movie wasn't the best movie in the history of cinema, say something now, audience." Guess it was the best thing in history, kind of thing. Or, Stone Cold came out and did his whole, if you want this, give me a hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then silence.
Right,
just to kind of emphasize.
Is there without the cheering? Do you just hear all the like slaps and the thumps and the hitting the
more so than you normally would? Yeah.
Okay.
It's just really weird because also I feel like there's also the fans not only because they can. I mean, there were some really great matches that were on, but the fans, the crowd, their cheers can make the match things. It actually does enhance what's going on.
Yeah.
And even so much so that I feel like there were like actual like wrestling things, like there's like dives to the outside wrestlers do. And it's weird because normally I'm watching wrestlers that do like they'll get pumped up and with the crowd and then just do this dive. It looks so seamless and effortless and kind of really poetic in a way, the way they dive out of the ring and on top of somebody. But here it's like they would start to look like they're getting pumped up and then they would kind of start to run but then kind of second guess themselves because that crowd energy is not pumping their adrenaline.
Oh.
And it's like it's painfully obvious that they're missing it as well, and it's kind of weird.
Wow, that is really strange.
AEW did what I prefer, which is since there couldn't be an actual crowd, they got all the wrestlers who were there who were not actually wrestling matches and had them be the crowd,
just like all around the edge of the ring, like yelling. And
no, I mean in the crowd, like behind the barricade where the crowd would normally be.
Oh, okay.
They just had them sitting there, yelling things, and like the heels are like making like heckling the good guys, and like they're also doing things that are very in character for their characters. And like two of the heels are placing bets on all the matches. And they're just off the side, so anytime like a team like loses, like someone's like, "You cost me $200, you piece of shit,"
So it sounds like AEW continues to be better than WWE in every way, shape, and form.
Now, having said that, they also had the luxury of WWE doing their crowdless show not just once before them, but twice with both SmackDown and Raw, because SmackDown was on Friday, Raw was on Monday, and then AEW was on Wednesday. So they could look at those shows and go, what did they do that we shouldn't?
Okay.
Like they can learn from their mistakes kind of thing. But yeah, I've watched a lot of wrestling, more wrestling than I have in a while. I watched Lego Masters, which is a really good...
Oh, with... Will Arnett
hosting, yeah. That is a really good, like if you are, even if you're not really a super fan of like reality show competitions, reality competition shows, Lego Masters is great because one, you're seeing people make these crazy Lego builds,
right?
But two, it's also parodying competition reality shows. Competition shows.
Parodying, yes.
Yeah, it's literally it's making fun of them at kind of at the same time.
Okay.
And I also really appreciate also I typically don't like Will Arnett. Like I don't hate him.
Okay.
But I typically just don't think he's very funny.
Even as Batman?
That's actually the most I've probably liked him until this.
Okay.
Like here, I kind of actually really enjoyed the way he's hosting the show. And But yeah, so if you haven't watched it, Lego Masters, go watch it. It's fucking great.
Okay.
It's all on Hulu.
I've been watching Devs on Hulu, which is really slow and really ponderous, and I kind of really, really like it. And Nick Offerman's a weirdo in that
Haven't
show.
watched that one.
I think there's only because it's really limited. I think there's only 2 weeks left until it's over.
Yeah.
But outside of that, Nioh 2 is kind of just eating my brain. I really have no idea why Nioh 2. Maybe it's just the fact that I tried to play Nioh 1 like it was Dark Souls, and then I ran up against like a big difficulty wall, and I was like, I'm done with this. Whereas Nioh 2, I went in already knowing how to
play Nioh.
Right. All the stuff out there was because, in a lot of Souls games, where you put your stat points really matters, but in Nioh 2, it matters even more than that. You need to pick a weapon, and then you need to build your character around that particular type of weapon.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're just going to be fucked eventually because the damage curve of the game is going to outpace where your character is. But I've really been liking it. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through the second area, and there's 7 areas. But I haven't done basically anything outside of that.
Ooh, I've also been playing a lot of Murder by Numbers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm almost done with it. I'm at the very end.
Okay.
I haven't.
You're playing it on grown-up adult mode, not the baby mode that Amanda and I were playing.
No,
right?
I'm playing on the same mode.
Oh, you playing the same mode?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, this is great, but I'm really bad at Sudoku, and I always be really terrible at this.
I'm actually okay at P-Cross. It's actually it takes some getting used to, but I'm actually found I'm not bad at it. It's actually fairly simple to kind of put certain stuff. Even Amanda's why did you start there, and how did you know that those were where they were? And I'd be like, oh, well, because this and kind of explain why. And she'd be like, oh, okay.
You just internalize the rules of
yeah. So I mean, it's and I think the story's cute and fun, and it's entertaining. It's funny where it needs to be funny, and I like the music in it. So it reminds me of it's a P-Cross version of Phoenix Wright with story wise, it's kind of that Phoenix Wright style of story, and I like the silliness of it. I like the stupidity of it, and it's ripping off Murder, She Wrote in all the best ways.
It's like they made a game just for you.
It is. It really is, and it's also calming because you're just doing little puzzles.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how long you sit there and spend on the puzzles. It's just.
Now here's the real question, John, is whenever you and I do any kind of visual novel or anything, you're a master at the voices.
I do every voice.
You do all the voices
out loud, at home.
Out loud by yourself.
Yeah.
For the dog.
Well, just for me.
Just for you. Okay.
There have been, so I don't know if Amanda's ever told you, there have been times where she will play a game. Back, I think when we first started dating, one of the first things we did when we hung out at her apartment was she was playing the game Stacking.
Mm.
And I'm bored, so I just started reading all the dialogue because there's no spoken. It's all text. So I just started. I think that was one of our first kind of. And she was just like, "Oh, you're gonna do this? Okay." And actually, she was like, "That made it more entertaining for me." I'm like, "Cool." That's
you really just dove into the crucible there. That's like a make or break right away. Just look, if you're gonna be with John, I'm gonna be reading stuff out loud in funny voices. Baby, you got to know this now. No,
I do every voice 100%. Now, sometimes I'll eventually stop because either I'm tired of doing it or just it's whatever. But I typically do all 100% of the voices.
All right,
and each character has different voices. And
good to know. You should just live stream it. You should just turn on a camera.
I've contemplated it.
Not even look at the chat. Just just. It's like the living room cam, where you just see John playing video games. So, well, speaking of playing video games, we have a lot of news about video games, and the first news that we have is this week. Mark Cerny gave an hour-long, really, 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 really sedate, boring, and technical presentation on the PlayStation 5. I showed John about 30 seconds, and I think your response was what the fuck is he talking about?
I literally, he started talking, and I was like, wow, this is super boring.
Yeah, so...
And this is an hour and something long? Jesus Christ.
Yep. This was a presentation that was very, very much about the nitty gritty of numbers of this is the pipeline from our drive for the number of instructions that we can send to a TV.
Old school E3 press conference announcing a new console.
I mean, more in the
most boring fucking way possible.
They were actually talking. At one point he was talking about it was actually really interesting if you could get into it. But also, Mark Cerny is very boring, or he's very sedate, right?
Yeah.
So it's just there's not a lot going on there. But like some of the stuff that he was talking about was like the load times. Like if you have if you're like playing a game and you're looking at something and then you turn the camera, how the game has to have some of that stuff like loaded in the background. But there was really the first part of it that I really did get into was talking about the solid state drive, because they're making like this really custom SSD for the PS5 where they're talking about how because it's so fast, you literally wouldn't have to load in as many assets, because like if you as a player turned around, the game could literally pull those assets through the pipeline fast enough to load them on the fly instead of keeping them in memory going from place to place. So if you guys want to watch this whole thing, you can watch the whole thing. But what I'll say is that the big takeaway of this is that it seems like at the end of the day, and we're going to get into this in a couple of minutes, that the PS5 is looking to really is looking to really be fast. That is their primary goal, is to make their console load stuff as quickly as humanly possible right now. Whereas the Xbox Series X seems like it's focusing a little bit more on one of the articles that I read likened them to like that the Xbox Series X is like a warrior and the PS5 is going to be like a rogue. Like that there's some like sophisticated weird instruction shit going on in the PS5, and that the Xbox Series X is going to be more powerful, and it's going to be interesting to see whether raw power, like raw video card power, or like some specialized bullshit instructions is going to be able to make a game better.
Okay.
That's basically what it comes down to. So with that, we haven't actually talked a lot on the podcast, hardly at all, about these new consoles, mostly because there's been kind of a drip of information. There's been a lot of speculation and rumors and stuff, but we now have pretty solid numbers on all of this. I'm going to run this down. You know what? We'll come back to this. I'm going to run down all the numbers, but we'll do that. There's actually a comparison between the two of them that will probably be better than going through all the numbers now and going to the next one. So another part of the presentation was that almost all of the PS4 games are going to be backwards compatible on the PS5. It's actually interesting because one of the problems that they were talking about is that some of those games wouldn't run properly because the way that they were set up was they were tuned to a CPU, GPU, hard drive like throughway, that this would be too fast. Like it would literally, like they were coded with the timing of that hardware chain in mind.
Yeah.
And that if you tried to put it unpatched onto this, the system would be running too fast, and it would kind of trip over itself. It wouldn't be able to render stuff properly. Apparently, though, on day one, the 100 top PS4 ranked games will be backwards compatible by default. It seems like there might be some stuff coming at a later date, but that's going to be the kind of baseline for backwards compatibility starting on the PS5.
Yeah.
Now, to contrast, because I don't want to be playing favorites here, the Xbox Series X is going to be fully backwards compatible with every single thing that's on the Xbox One and everything that's been backwards compatible to the 360 that is currently on the Xbox One.
And I think also the original OG Xbox.
I don't know if it's going to be everything, but I mean definitely everything that's in the backwards compatibility list.
That's what I meant. Everything that's already but anything that can be played on your Xbox One right now,
yes,
will be on the Xbox One Series X.
Yes,
is from what I understood.
And then I would have to assume that if they can run PS4 games, I don't know. I don't think they said whether, there was a handful of PS3 and PS2 games that got released on the PS4, not the PlayStation Now ones, but like Dark Cloud and a few things that got releases, and I don't know if those are also going to be backwards compatible, but it seems like the companies are taking backwards compatibility into account, especially Sony.
Well, I think I did see one Sony exec or something, or an article talking where Sony mentioned that no, backwards compatibility will not be something that is taken away like it was with the PS3.
Yeah, well, that was part of Sony talking about how in the PS3 they literally had the launch PS3s had the Emotion Engine PS2 hardware inside the system,
and then wanted to make it cheaper, so they removed it.
Yeah, so they weren't backwards compatible. Which, I like. over the years, I'm all for PS3 backwards compatibility, but when you really understand like what the inside of a PS3 was versus what the inside of an Xbox 360 was, like Sony did some dumb shit with the PS3. That whole cell processor thing.
Yeah, there was some real dumb shit.
I mean, at the time maybe they didn't think that we were all just going to be getting PCs sitting underneath our TVs, but like, man, to emulate a PS3, like, yeesh.
Yeah, but I like if I could get like 100% of the back catalog, because obviously it'll never happen. And I'm talking for any like Xbox, get all of the Xbox One and the Xbox 360 and all of Xbox,
OG
just,
Xbox,
OG Xbox, just all of it's compatible, no questions asked. You put it in, it works.
Yeah,
I'd be a happy fucking camper.
Oh yeah.
Same with the PlayStation, PS1, PS2. PS3, PS4, all backwards compatible, no questions asked, 100%. I and many other people would be happy campers.
Yeah,
like I would. That would solve me so many problems of trying to bust out old consoles and then being too lazy to actually find a way to hook them up to be able to play them.
That doesn't sound like a realistic scenario that would ever happen to anybody, though, John.
I just talked about that happening to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, it's weird to me because I feel like this generation of hardware, like the PS5 hardware, should be fast enough to just straight up do system emulation for a PS1 or a PS2.
Yeah. You would think.
I think that it's. But then on the other hand, I keep going back to the Switch doesn't play Wii U games.
Yeah,
like the Switch doesn't play any previous games.
Disk drive.
Yeah, I mean the Wii U played Wii games, but did it play? It didn't play GameCube games.
No, because just the Wii. The Wii played GameCube games. Okay. The Wii U did not.
Okay. I don't know. I often wonder just how important backwards compatibility is, like if it's a make or break. Because
I don't think it's a make or break. I honestly don't. Yeah. Like they're catering to a very niche audience at that point, and I like that they cater to that niche audience because it's that if you have that capability, there are going to be people who are going to find older games. But at the same time, it's a very small. Again, it's a niche audience.
We're also getting into a point in time where, because so many of the PS4 games I feel like are based on just a straight up PC architecture, I feel like it should be possible to put a PS4 game into a PS5, download a patch, and have it run better than it did on the PS4 without a lot of work. I mean, like, I don't really know. I'd be talking out my ass here, but like plenty of PC games have options where if your PC isn't as good, you run it slightly less, and then if your PC is great, you jack all that shit up. So
yeah, well, and then like you said, it's the fact that they said there are certain games that are programmed a very specific way for the hardware that it was built for.
Yes,
and that when you put it on hardware that is faster, the game literally can't deal with that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue, because one of the other things they talked about, the first and major focus of it was the hard drive, and it looks like it's going to be an 825 gigabyte hard drive, because it's this like super custom SSD that they're putting in to the PS5. So they addressed kind of expansion, right? Because one of the things that the PS5 is going to be doing is that the throughput from that drive to the PS5 like CPU and video card is way faster than like current drives, because it's an SSD, right? So like you could plug in a USB drive, but you can't really run games on the PS5 off of that drive.
Yeah, because it requires that very specific drive to be able to...
Right, because it requires the speed. Yeah. So the speed is just like garbage compared. So what they talked about in this is that you will be able to use an external hard drive, and you'll be able to run PS4 games off of that external hard drive, and you can store PS5 games on that external hard drive. But like if you want to run a PS5 game, then you need to like move that to the main drive and then move it off, and then move something else off, right? Make room. And then in addition, there's going to be an expansion bay, and they're actually going to support I don't remember what they're called. This is my hardware is kind of way out of date, but like, old SSDs look like a laptop drive, right? Or like an external hard drive. And there's these new SSDs that are just like a stick. It looks like kind of like memory, and it's got like a plug on one side. I forget exactly what they are called, but
key fobs?
No, it's like a specific. Let's see if I can find it here. Because I know that I had one about this expansion. Series X will support PS5 expansion. It's an M2 SSD. Which, okay, basically what this comes down to is this. Right now, the SSDs that are in the world are not as fast as there's two types. The current type that most people probably have that is not like the kind of the brand newest thing is a PCI 3 bus drive, and it is simply not fast enough to keep up with the drive that Sony has inside of there. There are commercially available drives that are that fast and will go up even faster than the Sony drive, but they are just now coming onto the market. So eventually they're going to have a slot, or they're going to have a slot in the PS5 where you can put one of these crazy ass SSDs in, but it's going to have to be one of the newer ones. It's not just going to be any old SSD because, again, the speed is the big issue there. But you will be able to commercially buy just like a straight up SSD and put it in there as long as it is that specific type. Now, that actually is a good segue because Microsoft is going back to the old, like they are selling specific drive upgrades for the Series X that are compatible specifically with the Series X. Like you can't just slap any old thing into it. Like you have to buy, they literally have these 1 terabyte expansion cards that they're teaming up with Seagate in order to basically plug in.
Okay.
Which seems like kind of a weird move, like going in a backwards direction, because I know that like the Xbox 360 originally you had to have like a Microsoft specific drive or something.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 had a drive that was basically a laptop drive with a Microsoft enclosure on it that rested on, and then when they moved to the Slims, it still had to be a specific drive because it had the enclosure that it was in only fit like you couldn't just go buy one of those drives,
right? Because the slot that it went into was custom.
Yeah. But you could break open the drive, replace the physical hard drive in it, because again, it was just a laptop hard drive.
Sure.
Replace the hard drive, and mind you, you're literally breaking it to do it, but you could.
Right.
I know people who did.
Because you'd like flash it with some kind of like custom drive firmware in order for it to
something
be
like that.
Yeah.
So that did have that, and then obviously the Xbox One didn't have removable storage.
Okay.
Or doesn't.
Right. So let's break it down. Let's
break it down.
It's got a little technical. It's all out in the middle of stuff. What does this mean? Or actually, at this point, I think that the main question is more probably, which one should I buy? Right. So here's what we got. CPU wise, the PS5 is running a Zen 2 CPU with 8 cores at 3.5 gigahertz. The Xbox Series X is running kind of the same CPU, but they're running at 3.8 gigahertz instead of 3.5. So the CPU on the Xbox Series X is faster.
Stick it to them.
Yeah. GPU is okay. So this is going to be what we're coming down to is a fight between GPUs and hard drive speeds.
Yeah.
Okay. So the graphics processor, they're both running this custom RDNA AMD, or I think it's is it AMD? I think it's AMD thing. In any case, the PS5 10.28 teraflops. 36 control units at 2.23 gigahertz. Series X, 12 teraflops, 52 control units at 1.825 gigahertz. So the GPU on the Series X is faster. Now, there's been noted also that the GPU and the CPU on the Series X will constantly be running at whatever the highest rate is, whereas on the PS5, it's got some kind of like variable rate so that if it needs less power, it doesn't have to power the system all the way up to... It basically powers up to where it needs to be, not just turning it on to 100% all the time. So there's a possibility that the Series X might be like my PS4 Pro that sounds like it's taking off into the stratosphere, and that the PS5 might be like my Xbox One X that is quiet and nice and it doesn't make any noise. These are the most confusing metaphors of all time.
It is.
So then the big thing here is memory is 16 gigabytes for both of them. The bandwidth for the PS5 is 448 gigabytes per second, and for the Series X, it's 560. The big thing is the storage, and I know this is a lot of numbers, right? But on the thing is that the PS5's like their SSD throughput is 5.5 gigabytes per second raw, and typically 8 to 9 gigabytes per second compressed out of the drive. Now, in comparison, the Series X is 2.4 gigabytes per second raw and 4.8 gigabytes per second compressed. So the PlayStation's like access to your drive is almost twice as fast as what the Series X is going to be doing, because they have this like super custom drive that they're using. It's got like this custom like interface on it to let the system access it like super quick. So what this means is that the Xbox Series X has more raw power, but it's possible that the PlayStation 5 might have like faster loading times or be able to do slightly more tricks, right, with the access to the drive that they're doing. All this is to say, all I really care about is games, John.
All this is to say is none of this really matters until we know specifically what games are coming out for what and what they look like and how they play and all the stuff that we're not getting information on at the moment.
Or, okay, no, you know what? I was thinking about this earlier, and I wanted to put the question to you, and I kind of want to put it to the audience as well. So if you had a choice between a console where games loaded super fast, like so fast you barely had a loading screen, like in the presentation they were talking about, we're probably going to have to slow down loads because they're so fucking fast, or a console where games looked better but had more loading times. So would you prefer a console where games looked not quite as good, like noticeably less good, not bad, but less good, but it loaded like a maniac, or looks better but has more loading times?
So I feel like my initial reaction to that is I would want the one that's faster, because it gets me to my game quicker. It gets me to gaming. It's less time I'm sitting there waiting for fuck all to happen.
Right.
That is my initial reaction. And I think that's kind of where I stand, because again, I love the Nintendo Switch, and a lot of it is because I can just pick it up and I'm in my game.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's barely loads.
Yeah,
like,
you hit the button, it's on. You hit the thing 3 times, you're there. You hit the game button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're playing your game type thing.
You know, there's sometimes load screens, but like they're not as bad. You know, I'm playing my game, and do those games look anywhere near as good as on the PlayStation or the Xbox? No.
Yeah.
But I fucking am enjoying the shit out of them, and I'm playing them, as opposed to, what was it, Xbox? I think this may be something you're going to talk about, and I apologize if I'm jumping the gun.
It's all right.
But they like showed like a side-by-side of like an Xbox One game.
State of Decay 2.
Yeah, State of Decay 2.
Yeah.
And it literally, and mind you, I've never played State of Decay 2, but they literally showed the Xbox One Series X and it on the Xbox One, and literally the guy was in the game and playing on the Xbox One Series X like a solid 4 minutes, or solid like 2 minutes.
That was a really bad example. I don't know why they keep using State of Decay 2, because it kind of, State of Decay 2 like doesn't load very well. Like the idea that you're trying to show this off by showing that State of Decay 2 takes like 2.5 minutes to load into your game is kind of like, good God, like why does it take that long to load? It's not like it's anyway. Yes, I know. I did see that though.
My reaction is I'd rather, I don't care how good it looks, I want the one that gets me to my game faster.
Mm-hmm. Or like, you know, with those Spider-Man demos, right, that they had, where it was like loading into Spider-Man, just bam, lickety split right there. Like that could be a real, and I encourage everybody to think about how that can also be a real big game changer. Like in that Cerny thing, like if you can sit through it, it's actually really fascinating, talking about how many instances of a thing have to be loaded, or the way that on current drives, like the information has to be kind of stacked up in the right order to be able to let that physical spinning hard drive load the things that you're going to need more often faster, and how like that becomes less of a thing. Like you don't have to duplicate as many items in the world, because if you can load everything like when you need it instead of having to load it all up ahead of time, it means that you can have a lot more diverse like level structure.
Yeah,
because
I think a good example of that is like when you're playing Grand Theft Auto or
Yeah.
any open world game where you can drive a car. You'll always notice that whatever car you're driving, there's a lot more of them out there than you would see when you're not driving that car.
Sure.
Because the game has it's already loaded that car.
Right.
So it's going to maybe load it a few
It's
more
like
times.
duplicate. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a trick to make things load faster. And so now they don't have to do that by what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that what we're looking at, and it's really interesting because it makes me wonder what video games are going to be like for the next 10 years, is this idea that there were a lot of tricks that developers had to do to get around slow-ass hardware, and that as the hardware keeps getting faster and faster, those tricks become less and less important, which means that you can do more interesting things without having to rely on old tricks to make things look right, or kind of shield the player from seeing the strings, right? So yeah, and then the other question is going to be whether this is a thing for a lot of people, being able to buy a third-party commercially available expansion to your drive space as opposed to buying a specific branded, first-party Microsoft branded expansion. I think is also a thing, because that really just seems like a step in the wrong direction to me. And the Xbox One, the one, you can just plug an external hard drive in, right, and install stuff on it. Like, it doesn't require anything specific.
Yeah, no, you're right. It doesn't. Outside of, I think it can only be up to a certain size hard drive.
Okay.
And I think it has to be like USB 2 or USB 3, I can't remember.
Probably 3.
To be able to install or play games off of it.
Right.
I think you can hook up a USB 2 hard drive to it. You just can't play games off of it.
Okay.
I could be entirely wrong about that. But yeah, I think it's going to be less of an issue than you're thinking. I think it is going to be something some people think about. Because there's always people who are going to think about shit like that. Because I don't feel like there was a lot of I feel like there was a lot of pushback on it originally when the Xbox 360 first came out, but then after a while, everyone stopped caring. I feel like it became not a thing because typically most people would just buy whatever the hard drive is that's the highest hard drive that the console comes with. If that was something that was important to them,
sure, they
would buy that out of the gate and then just keep that one until
I guess the only reason that I mention it is because it's not I have so many games coming through my consoles that I'm really used to just deleting stuff, re-downloading stuff, queuing up a bunch of games that I know I'm going to maybe want to play later. But I've actually seen people that they don't like to take stuff off their drive that they might still be playing. So
I'm like that. I'm very much like that. There are games on my hard drive that I, for a long time, didn't remove, even if I didn't play them. But because I was like, well, what if I want to play them?
Yeah.
I don't want a chance that I wake up one day and even though I've purchased this thing, I can't re-download it.
Yep.
Because, the license expired or something like that.
Sure.
Even though I don't think that's a thing. Like if you bought outside of PT, if you bought it, it's yours. You will always be able to re-download it as long as the service is up and running, even if they lose the rights to be able to sell the game in the future.
Yep. All right, and so there's a couple more things. We got they're changing out the D-pad on the Xbox Series X controller. It's pretty similar to the current one.
What's the new button?
It's a share button.
Oh,
dedicated share button, kind of like on the PS4.
Okay.
We also had a video of I don't know who this guy is, but there was a guy that went over and was showing off some of the Microsoft stuff. One of the big things that they were showing off was ray tracing, which I don't have anything that can do ray tracing right now, but he was showing off Minecraft with ray tracing turned on. Do you know ray tracing?
Vaguely.
It's basically it's a light simulation thing that really gives you much more dynamic lighting than you would get normally. Control is apparently able to do it, but you have to have a specific video card in order for that to happen. But it's pretty impressive. I'd like to. I've been hearing about ray tracing for a while, and I just haven't had an opportunity to really see what it is. So, hoping if that's integrated into both the new consoles, it'll make things look all good. And there you go. Well, from there, let's move. We talked about Microsoft, talked about Sony. Let's talk about Nintendo a little bit.
What is Nintendo up to?
Oh yeah,
days?
one last thing. As we've talked about before, the Xbox Series X is not coming out on Thanksgiving. It is coming out holiday this year.
Yeah.
So, anyway, okay. On to Nintendo. Nintendo had a big Indie World Showcase.
Yeah, they had their next indie thing.
Yep, and we're getting a full-on Nintendo Direct at the end of the month. But right now, this is the one that we got. Probably the biggest thing was Exit the Gungeon got announced and released at the same time.
Yeah,
or what?
It's a timed exclusive.
Was it announced before? I think it was announced, right?
I feel like they announced that they were doing something with the Gungeon franchise.
Had the arcade thing.
Yeah,
the light gun.
Yeah,
game at E3, I think.
Yeah, I think that we knew that there was some type of Gungeon game coming. I don't know if it was specifically we knew the title was Exit the Gungeon or that it was a side scroller instead of
like isometric.
Yeah. Like I don't know if we knew that or not. I could be wrong, obviously.
Have you played it?
No.
Oh, it's hard.
Yeah, I've heard it's hard and I heard it's fun though.
So hard.
I mean, the original Gungeon was hard.
Yeah, that's true. I never really got that far into it because it was just so hard. So then we got a bunch of other stuff. A lot of these look good. I think we're not gonna go over every one of them in like exquisite detail, but
I will say the previous Indies World Showcase or whatever they had, like the last one they had, I felt had a lot more games that I was really excited for that still haven't come out.
Yeah. Was the last one where they announced the Murder by Numbers? Yeah,
Murder by Numbers and Super Smash.
Super Mash.
Super Mash. And then like along with a few other games that I'm like, I want to play all those games. And a few of them have come out, but there's been a few that still haven't come out yet. They're set to come out within the next couple of months. But like I watched that one and I was like, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. This one I was just kind of, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, like
this looks cool.
The first thing, this is Blue Fire, which just kind of looks like an action platformer, kind of a 3D thing.
Nothing looked bad, just nothing grabbed me like I was hoping. Except for maybe the Swery game, but we already knew about that one.
The Baldo was kind of interesting. It kind of looked like a Legend of Zelda, but with a very like 80s anime style. To it that looked pretty good. Actually, I Am Dead. I've really liked the stuff that Annapurna Interactive has been putting out, and I Am Dead being this weird kind of like I'm a ghost and looking around this little town and like getting all up into people's business and trying to solve a mystery, and it's like that's the kind of charming indie thing that I could see playing. On the other hand, we had things like this B-Arc, which is this weird animal shmup game that's coming out. This is kind of interesting art style, but I'm just not a big shmup guy personally. The Cyanide and Happiness Freakpocalypse was a clever little thing where the creator was talking to an animated version of this kind of zombie.
Yeah,
I don't really read Cyanide and Happiness.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Cyanide and Happiness guy, so
Yeah, did they have like a battle royale game they were putting out where it was like the Rapture and then everybody that was left was in like a big battle royale?
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
I don't know if that ever came out or not, but let's see. Summer in Mara looked like a kind of a Harvest Moon meets kind of tootle around a town and talk to people. I guess kind of Stardew Valley-ish, but 3D, which was, it was okay.
All that one made me think of was like, whatever the fuck happened to Ooblets?
Yeah, I got a big Ooblets vibe off of that one, too. Quantum League, we actually talked about last week because there was a cinematic trailer for it. Looks kind of interesting, which is a 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 thing where you're fighting and then whenever somebody dies, it like starts the round over, and then your copies do what they did, and then you can try to save them or change stuff. It's very strange. I kind of want to see how it is. I want to get my hands on it and kind of see how it actually is. The Good Life we know about.
Yeah, it was a Kickstarter that didn't succeed. I think it was Indiegogo that didn't succeed.
Did it go on to Fig eventually?
No, I think it was a Fig that didn't succeed either. But I think eventually, part of the deal to get the prequel / sequel to Deadly Premonition, I think was also to also fund this.
Okay,
like they got the funding they needed for this as well.
Okay, I still want to play it.
Yeah,
it
looks fun.
It looks like from the little section they showed that it is way further along.
Oh yeah, it looks better. Like graphically, it looks way better than it previously did.
Yeah. And then Hello Games came out and they had this trailer for this game called The Last Campfire, which didn't do a whole lot for me. It was
I honestly thought this was a game that had already been released, or that it was a sequel to a franchise. Because I could swore I've seen the little main character. I've seen that little character design in other games.
I know which game you're talking about. I can't remember it, but I remember I played it for something somewhere at some point. There was a little kind of Jawa looking guy doing puzzles and stuff.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything in this trailer like you said. It wasn't bad. It was just like, well, what differentiates your little 3D puzzle adventure game from all the rest of the charming 3D adventure puzzle games that are out there, brah? I think that was there a game where you played as two people?
That's the one I'm thinking
and
of.
You flip back and forth between them.
Yeah, or you can play it 2-player.
Yeah, or you can play it co-op. Yeah, what the hell was that called? So I don't know. I mean, again, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. It's just right now we're in a very saturated game space, and so to get me excited, you're gonna need to show me something different. Throw a little curveball at me. Pixel Junk Eden 2. I thought the Pixel Junk thing was dead a long time ago.
Yeah.
I like the original Pixel Junk Eden all right. I mean, it's kind of this weird, you're swinging around in circles and kind of flying between places.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also a thing where the everything old is new again on the Switch. So a lot of older games have been re-released. So them announcing this was like, well, I'm in shock because I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was originally a Sony exclusive, except for the PC ports. And so now this is just a way for people to get it that's not Sony. And I do think handheld is actually a good platform for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
there was kind of weird experimental games that were interesting.
Yeah.
And then let's see, Faria, which is like a deck building nature weird game. I don't really know. I'm not really much of a deck builder kind of guy, but seems
is it like a free to play, but like
card battler?
You can buy packs of cards.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks I don't know. Elder Souls, I was kind of interested in.
I just figured when you see the name, it's like, oh, it's Eldest and Souls. It's like it's Eldest instead of Elder.
That's right.
And Souls instead of
It's not Elden Ring or Dark Souls. It's Elder Souls. I mean, without being too much of a parody about myself, I like grim, kind of grim fantasy, and this looked like a kind of a top down. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Children of Morta, or there was that. God, wasn't there a Soulsy game where you played as a Valkyrie that just never, it was announced back when Death's Gambit and Blasphemous were announced, and then it just never came out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is an isometric kind of action game. I like the art style.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
So let's check it out, see what happens.
It's like a boss battle game where you just fight bosses.
Yeah. Skyracket was kind of a co-op. I don't know. That one didn't really. I mean, again, interesting art style, but it was a shmup, I believe. And I was like, well, that's fine. I'm just not the biggest shmup fan in the world. And then Moving Out, which I swear to God, is there another game that's kind of like this?
I think there was
2 players moving stuff around.
I think there was.
Yeah. And then there was some just kind of general sizzle reel. Blair Witch is coming out on the Switch. Ghost of a Tale, Sky, Superliminal is coming out. Dicey Dungeons is coming out, which is very good. And then 2 more, Wingspan and Bounty Battle. So I'm not familiar with all of those. But I don't know. In general, it was kind of it was okay. But I kind of expect more from Nintendo, especially considering all the Devolver shit that's come out there. I get that there was a Devolver game on there, but
the Devolver was their big reveal. It was like, here's this game, and it's out now.
Yeah. What about Ape Out 2? I'm still waiting for Ape Out 2. Fucking love Ape Out. So yeah. And now Nintendo fans only have to wait just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. I think next week is going to be a full-on, regular-ass Nintendo Direct. Maybe. I don't know if
Who knows?
I don't think that the coronavirus make a Nintendo Direct. I don't think that. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Matt was telling me that everybody in Japan is just over it. They're just like, oh, fucking, we don't care. We're just going to go out and do stuff. And so... all right. From there, speaking of going out and doing stuff, let's Every week, John, we got to have at least one wah-wah. Like, why are you so bad at this?
I think we know why in the answer to this one.
Actually, before this story is over, I'm going to offer a very half-hearted explanation, not defense, but explanation of why GameStop is so bad. So GameStop apparently is, one, still open in spite of the fact that everything else is fucking closed.
Yeah.
And two, apparently they were supposed to be getting like cleaning supplies and hand sanitizers and like ways to try, because I mean, like, oh my God, if there was one store that's just people pawing everything in the store, that's GameStop for you. You pick up a game, you look at it, you turn it over, you go back. Not to mention children that go in there and they're like,
the only place worse doesn't exist anymore. It's Toys R Us, because kids touch everything there.
Yeah. So okay, let's start from the beginning. GameStop is still open. Actually,
oh no,
it's more than that.
Well. So I think we should, before we get to the thing that you're wanting to say more than that, is apparently there was a managers conference call, and this was kind of before it started getting really bad, but right when it was starting to.
Yes.
And managers were like, "Well, hey, we have employees that are really worried about it," and they're like, "Well, they still have to work.
Yes,
we're not closing. And we're going to stay open and." Here's the thing, like, oh, well, we'll send extra sanitizer to the locations, and then you just make sure that while one employee is managing the rest of, the register, there's another employee following customers around, spraying stuff down, sanitizing everything as people go through.
Sure.
And then managers were like, I don't have that many employees. Because you don't pay me enough you don't provide us with enough funds to be able to hire that many employees.
Not just that, but apparently they were supposed to get a big thing of sanitizer to send out, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, there were reports of like some GameStops were saying that they quote unquote borrowed a sanitizer from the store next door.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, as more and more places have gone on to lockdown, GameStop told all of its stores, you got to fucking stay open. Like, you got to stay open. Now they did say that they weren't going to do as many. I've got conflicting reports about like whether they were going to continue doing trade-ins or not. And then they're supposed to be like not letting more than 10 people in the store, trying to keep people 6 feet away from each other, all this stuff.
I know they canceled the midnight launches.
Yes, they canceled the midnight launches, and they changed some of the other launches. We'll get to that towards the end. But the thing here that's really kind of scummy is that apparently GameStop told their managers that if like police come and say, hey man, you can't be open, you have to close, that they are then to push back on the police and tell the police to call corporate so that they can like hammer on them and be like,
and to hand them this like paper document that gives them well, because there are certain cities in certain parts of the US where it is a law mandating that all non-essential stores shut down and do not open.
That's happened in Austin
and like to the point of that if a police officer sees the store open and it should not be open, they will walk in and say, you have to close the store now, and you have to close the store or risk fines or jail.
Yes. This comes off as just incredibly irresponsible. I mean, like, I kind of get it, like, with people at home.
Because GameStop says that they are essential, just as essential as a grocery store or... Go fuck yourself, whoever at GameStop said that.
So, like I said, I'm going to offer a half-hearted explanation here. I was thinking about it, and I was like, actually, I think I know what's going on here, John. I think if GameStop has to be closed for 2 months, that they're never coming back.
Oh, I agree.
Like, I think that this is like that this is their last hurrah, and if they do shut down, like they're literally just going to weather any amount of bad press, because if they shut down for 2 weeks, that they're not going to have the capital to open back up. Not only that, but I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about coronavirus because, I mean, what else are you going to do? Like, that's all the podcasts there are these days. This podcast is mentioning it, right? Is that when people who lose their jobs, if these lockdowns lift, and those people don't, they've had some amount of money coming in from this check from the government or savings or whatever they've got left over, they're going to have to stretch that shit. And then let's say that all the GameStops can open back up. Like, people aren't immediately going to be able to have the money to go out and then buy the games, right? So there is a question about, like, not just can GameStop weather being closed for a month, which I don't think they can. I think they got 2 weeks of being closed before they can't afford it anymore, just because they've been trading so hard on the consignment market and stuff like that, and doing these razor sharp profit margins. I mean, we've already had.
They sunk Think Geek. Like, they destroyed that company.
I've had stories
in an effort to keep themselves alive.
I've had stories I haven't even put up that's about GameStop, like, getting really aggressive with their employees about, like, no, you have to sell stuff to people. They seem like they're desperate. And I have a feeling that not only if they can afford to be shut down, but they can't afford to be shut down. And then if they open back up, they would have to open back up to a line of people out the door that were just like, I want to pre-order PS5. I want to buy 16 games. I need to get Doom Eternal. I couldn't get it on digital. But that's not what's going to happen. Those people are going to do the pre-orders.
And they know it's not going to happen.
Amazon. They're going to buy digital games.
Also, when this all started and people were first being sent home, a lot of what people did, in addition to the crazy go buy up all the toilet paper in the world for some reason,
I don't understand it at all.
They also went to their local Best Buys and local GameStops and bought stuff so that they have something to do when they're at home.
Sure.
And because they know they have the money now and it's a little bit disposable, and they're going to have to, they know that at some point they're going to have to stop spending money and rely on that. And they know that video games are a longer form of entertainment than, say, movies or a book.
Sure.
So they're going to buy a brand new console and a bunch of games, and then they're going to go home and quarantine themselves and not fucking leave.
Yeah.
And parents are doing that so that they can, because now kids are at home and they're like, well, fuck, I guess I'll get them that console they always wanted in the games, so that they'll stop fucking bothering me while I'm working remotely from home and have to do my job.
Yep.
And, kind of thing. So it literally, and GameStop even report, that was one of the reasons they said that they actually pushed back on employees not coming into work or closing and things like that, is because GameStop actually saw a very large spike in sales as soon as all this happened, and they were like, let's push it further, let's keep getting that spike, let's keep, because they also know if it comes to shove and they have to close, all those sales that they wouldn't have gotten without the coronavirus is going to help them possibly stay afloat for that much longer if they have to close.
If they have to close,
and it's exactly what you're saying. It's 100% what you're saying.
Yeah,
it doesn't make it right.
Oh yeah, I don't want to say that to excuse anything. I mean, like, I feel in some cases for the people that work for GameStop that are trying their best to do a thing, and they're being put in this impossible fucking situation. There's a lot of people who work at bars and restaurants who just straight up do not have jobs anymore because those places are closed. Like, it's a shitty time. There's a lot of shittiness going around. There's a lot of shittiness everywhere. And so it's not a good look to be like the one company that's like, fuck you guys, we're going to stay open, and I don't care how much we contaminate each other. I don't give a shit if your kids come in here and then touch a bunch of Funko Pops that somebody else sneezed on, go home, and then give you all coronavirus and blah, blah, blah. We got to make some money. Like, that's kind of where we are right now, I guess, is this whole thing where in the short term, everybody's being as careful as they possibly can, even to the point of hurting businesses, of people losing their jobs, etc. And so when you have one company that just refuses to do that, they stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. And then you also have some companies that are also not doing great in that they furlough hundreds of customers all at once into both unemployment and non-insurance.
Yep.
When this happened.
Yep. I don't know anything, but I just get the impression over the years GameStop seems like it's very rickety financially.
Well, GameStop is based on the pawn shop model.
Yeah.
And pawn shops, I don't know if you've ever fucked with people in pawn shops.
I don't fuck with pawn shops.
Yeah, exactly. There's a reason.
Yeah.
And the problem is that GameStop is a pawn shop that got way too big. And now it can't sustain its business model.
Yeah. All right, let's kick it up into high gear, John.
Let's go.
All right. So, last thing about GameStop is that GameStop caused a bit of a kerfuffle. In order to not have everybody coming into the store at once, they actually moved up the launch of Doom Eternal to Thursday instead of Friday. By the time you hear this, it will already be out. But it's kind of interesting because they didn't want both the Animal Crossing and the Doom people to all show up at the same time. So they moved Doom Eternal to Thursday and kept Animal Crossing on Friday. It has literally made a lot of Animal Crossing fans just fucking psychotically mad because if you're going to move one game up, they want their game moved up and not the other game.
Yeah, you don't do that with Nintendo games, though.
Yeah, Nintendo will they will stomp on you.
Yeah, Nintendo, you don't fuck with release dates on Nintendo.
Yep. Speaking of Doom Eternal,
publicly, anyways. Some people have done it not publicly, but
yeah, we got an interesting dev diary talking about kind of unlockables in Doom Eternal. There's a lot here that kind of liken it to basically an action figure collection because there's going to be all these things that you can get by unlocking the different skins. But the one that they showed that I thought was worth mentioning is the hipster Archvile, which is the Archvile in the game. But if you apply this skin, he's wearing like suspenders and like glasses. He's got like a hipster haircut and a mustache. And so apparently you could do that, and then like all the cutscenes that are in the game change, and every time you see that enemy, they're doing things. So it kind of seems like you could make Doom into a really ridiculous game if you get enough, depending on the number of ridiculous skins. If Doom Guy is dressed like that rainbow unicorn, and all the Archviles are hipsters, and then it's just like everybody else has some dumb skin on, I could see Doom Eternal looking like the cow level in Diablo or something. Let's see from there. Got my things all messed up. Speaking of online shooters, we also got some information about Overwatch. We got a new character, which
finally
seems like it's been a long time.
This character's been since the beginning. This character was in the poster artwork that was for the launch of the game.
Oh, interesting. Well, I know that they were in the McCree animated short.
Yeah,
and this is Echo, who is like a kind of a prototype weird Omnic that's not really an Omnic.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's some information here. She's an assault class, and she does some really interesting stuff. We don't have time to go over all of it, but I did listen to the whole thing, and the thing I found most interesting, John, is that apparently her ult is to literally turn into one of the people on the other team. You can pick one of the people on the other team, and like you literally turn into that character. So you turn into not a disguise, but you play as like a Reinhardt from the other team, and not just that, but apparently that other character's ult meter fills up faster to the point where they said internally they've had people where they used Echo's ult to switch to Tracer and were able to get 2 of Tracer's ults off before the timer ran out and they had to switch back, which seems insane.
So you're not like switching teams. You're still playing for your team.
You're still playing for your team, but you are literally turning into
kind of like
character.
The spy function, but you're not.
Well, yeah, but the spy, it just looks like that. This is like you literally are playing as Tracer.
Yeah, okay.
So which is kind of interesting. On the PTR now, coming pretty soon. And kind of interesting backstory as well. I feel like I've fallen off a lot with Overwatch over the years. So yeah, in other online shooting people news, Call of Duty Warzone came out last week, which Michael and I played for a Patreon video. That was really interesting. Did you know that in Call of Duty Warzone, when you die, you go to this weird like pit fight club in a shower room, and you do like one-on-one fights with other people, and if you win that fight, you like get to come back to the game?
Did not know that.
It's fucking weird. Also, your team can straight up buy you back into the game even if you die in the pit fight.
Weird.
It's very strange. I kind of like it. But one of the things they didn't have at launch last week was solo mode. It was only teams and payday or something mode. So this week they patched in a few different things as well as solos mode. So if you're looking to play a lone wolf, totally can.
Okay.
It seems like a good move for them. Like I like it a lot better than last year's Call of Duty Battle Royale because like you start with a gun, like you start with a pistol. When you hit the ground, the health regenerates, and you literally pick up big armor plates that you can put in and that give you like a certain amount of damage reduction, but when your health gets down, it literally just regenerates if you're not in combat. So it's like it's got a lot more flexibility in my opinion than a lot of other ones. So let's see. I know you're not interested in Call of Duty. I know you are interested in Control, though.
Yes,
John.
I am.
We got a trailer for the Foundation DLC.
March 26th.
Yep, which looks appropriately bizarro. Apparently, there's some shit going down in the foundation of the oldest house, Astral Plane. It looks like there's going to be a new power where you get like pulling out like rocks or something like that. And my favorite part was at the end we saw what is that thing called? Like the board or like the former or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, the former.
From the fridge.
From the
Control.
fridge. Yeah.
Which it was one of the only things I really desperately wanted to know more about, and I'm hoping we get to know more about it. It's a really good trailer too.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Action packed.
I'm looking forward to jumping back in and getting to play more.
Me too. And then that's next after that.
It's March 26th though, man. So it's like, I hate to say it like this, but if there is going to be a pandemic where we're all stuck inside,
yeah.
There's a lot. Everything is like everything had DLC that was going to be coming out right now.
Right.
So on top of Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing, you're also getting all the DLC
Control
for all
DLC, Spawn and MK11.
The last DLC for WWE 2K20, which was garbage.
Yeah. So yeah. A lot of people have asked if we're going to play it. I don't. The problem is it's coming right at a time when things are getting a little stacked up, so I might have to put it off like by a few days and then come back to it because Amanda and I played all the way through Control, and we got a lot of stuff on our plate. So
yeah.
We will play it eventually. I don't know when, so don't ask. Speaking of not asking, I wasn't asking if EVO 2020 was still going to be going on, but apparently the answer is yes.
Really?
Yes. Well, at this moment, they have not canceled EVO because it is far enough in advance. It's supposed to be from July 31st to August 2nd.
Okay,
and
I can understand that.
And they're basically saying, like, we are keeping an eye on it. We are leaving these plans in place. If things change and we need to cancel it, we will, but we're not preemptively canceling it now.
Yeah.
So
that's understandable.
Yep. Same is also true with Gamescom, which happens later in the year as well. And they are basically said the same thing where they are like, we are currently having Gamescom. We are planning to have Gamescom. If things change, we will change appropriately. So we've had a lot of cancellations, and these are at least two events that we know are going to be going on no matter what. Speaking of stuff that's going on no matter what, Steam continues to operate, and last week had the best day ever of Steam with 20 million concurrent users on Steam, 6.7 million concurrent users playing games at the same time.
Wow.
So everybody's home, and they're playing games, and they're doing it on Steam. All right, let's talk about a few trailers. We got a trailer for Sea of Stars, which is an RPG that's being kickstarted by the guys that made The Messenger, that is taking place in the same universe as The Messenger, but looks more like a Children of Mana kind of game. I got a real soft spot in my heart for Children of Mana, and this just looks like they did a really good job with the Messenger. And it just looks really good. Like, it looks pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and this takes place like thousands of years prior to the events of The Messenger.
Yeah.
So the world is different. And
yep. In The Messenger, there's like one island left where all the humans live and everything else is underwater. And this is like way before that when there was a whole world. You play as a pair of characters, a boy and a girl, they're both born on the solstice. And one of them is like the summer guy, and then the girl is for the winter. So they've got kind of different
fire
powers.
And ice,
yeah.
And light and dark. And
looks real good. Let's see. As always, we got some new Fortnite content. They're doing spy games on Fortnite. There's also a helicopter. They got a really awesome trailer. It makes me want to play Fortnite, but I remember I don't like playing Fortnite. So, where apparently you get to kind of like select certain items, and then you can find them in the map and unlock them and stuff like that. Hearthstone is getting a new hero. The Demon Hunter is coming to Hearthstone, and they did one of their kind of little fancy dancy artsy fartsy trailers for that. Apparently this is the first new hero to come into Hearthstone in a while, so it's nice to see. We had two whole Blizzard stories that weren't bad things happening at Blizzard. So
it's not Illidan.
Is that who it is?
I mean, that's who was in the video that you just showed. That was Illidan.
Okay. Yes, that's who it is.
Yeah, it's not a demon hunter. It's Illidan.
Oh, okay.
From World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay. They had like a different. No. It says official Demon Hunter cinematic trailer.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Is Illidan a demon hunter?
I don't know.
Was he?
I don't remember. I don't know the Warcraft lore.
I don't either. Illidan's gonna be in Hearthstone. So there you go. John also showed me a cool trailer for a game called Fights in Tight Spaces, which is a card game, kind of like beat 'em up, but
kind of like take like Slay the Spire and card mechanics, and then put it in a tiny room, and you're fighting people, and you have to use your card, the cards you have, to discern how you're going to beat everybody up in the room.
Yep.
Kind of has an art style that looks similar to like Super Hot.
Yeah. It also kind of reminds me of John Wick Hex, and Into the Breach.
Yeah.
Strangely enough. So, but it looks good. You go check out that trailer. Our last trailer this week is for the Deep State. For the new Splinter Cell is in Ghost Recon again. Sam Fisher's coming to Ghost Recon Breakpoint in an expansion later on this month. I desperately want there to be Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
So.
I honestly, I told Jeff before we started recording that I honestly think that it's going to be so long before we get another Splinter Cell, but by the time they actually like, let's make a new Splinter Cell, we're going to do it. We're going to make a proper Splinter Cell. Michael Ironside's going to be like either completely 100% retired or dead.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to get somebody else to voice the character. Which hopefully fans will understand.
You can find somebody that sounds like Michael Ironside, kind of. I guess that's what they did in Black Site, and I hated that. So, all right. If you're looking for something to play, by the time this comes out, I don't know if this will still be going on. I think it will be. But instead of GDC, Steam put out 40 game demos that you can play right now. They're the time limited, like the ones they did at the Game Awards. So they only are going to be going on for 4 days. I believe it was from starting yesterday or today. So it's possible you might have a little time left, but I think this is a cool move. I think it's an interesting idea. I kind of like the idea of around E3 maybe seeing something similar where we get to play some stuff that came out or that would have been shown at E3, and we're going to get some time limited demos to look at.
Any highlights on which games that demos were available?
Man, there are so many. Let me see if I can find. Superliminal is on there. There's a lot of different stuff. There's like a winemaking simulator called 100 Days. Quench, We Are the Caretakers, We Should Talk. Filament, this game called Tunch, which looks like it has the girl from A Hat in Time in it. Neon Noodles, Evans Remains, Hyperparasite. Going Under. There's a lot of stuff in here, and it's all very indie, very kind of crazy.
Carrion. I saw Carrion on that list.
Yeah, I think that's the same demo that they put out in around the Game Awards.
Yeah,
I think I played with Matt. Heavenly Bodies is also back in there.
Wait, you played a demo of that with Matt?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. We played. It was so short that we actually had to play. The other half of our video was I Am Fish from the creators of Surgery Simulator from Bossa Studios. They had a little open thing. But yeah, there's a lot of shit on here. And it's
Coffee
all
Talk's on there.
Mm-hmm. Curious Expedition 2 is on there. Haven, which is, I don't remember, that's something about it. Spiritfarer, which I think Amanda and I played as a Patreon video, or maybe it was a game video. That was pretty interesting. That Elder Souls game that I was talking about has a demo. There's a lot of shit on here. There's a lot of shit. So I think this all ends up done on Monday.
Kung Fu Kickball.
Yep. Mighty Fist Federation. Some of this stuff also, like with this When the Past Was Around, kind of reminds me of Florence a little bit in the art style, but then it's got like an anthropomorphic like deer man. But that's already, there was a demo for that was already on Steam. But there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit on here. So Skatebird is on there. Yeah. So check it out. Let's see. Final Fantasy VII is not delayed, but it may be a little delayed if you are getting a physical copy of it.
Physical copies may be a little bit delayed just due to things.
Yes. So digital copies will still be coming out day and date when they were going to. Physical copies may take a little bit longer to get to people. Let's see. We got a rumor that the next Call of Duty for this year is going to be a reboot of Black Ops, because they rebooted Modern Warfare, so now they're going to reboot Black Ops.
Okay.
I'm not especially interested in that, but sure.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
And then last but not least, we got a couple quick things. Razer, the guys who make the mice and the peripherals and stuff, apparently have shifted some of their product lines to basically make surgical masks.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And good job, Razer. And last but not least, John, I knew that you would want to know about this.
I do want to know about everything.
You already probably know about this.
I do know about this.
So apparently, if you want to watch Kamen Rider and Ultraman, Shout Factory has a new streaming site called Tokushoutsu that has like a bunch of Kamen Rider, Ultraman,
Kamen Rider. So right now, it's every Shout Factory release of Sentai that's been done, that's been officially released.
Okay,
it's the very first. It's the first 30 episodes of the very first Kamen Rider series.
Okay.
And then also Ultraman Leo. Mm-hmm. Those are the shows that are kind of on rotation on this channel, which is called Tokushoutsu. And then they're also going to have a couple of...
So they got Super Sentai on here.
Yeah, that's every Sentai series that Shout Factory has actually already done a physical release of.
Okay.
And then they're also going to have some new talk show type stuff. Like they have Let's Talk Toku, which is kind of a show about what tokusatsu is in Japan and about the love of those shows. And I think it's hosted by Jason Narvi, who, if you are a fan of Power Ranger, he would be Eugene Skullovich.
Oh, there you go.
From Power Rangers. Of Bulk and Skull fame. He is actually, it's interesting because he's actually a professor of the arts. Like he actually teaches schools and stuff like that. He is also apparently, because of him being involved with Power Rangers, he actually wanted to know more about Sentai, and actually went and sought it out and actually watched it, and then became a fan of it and became a fan of he actually totally got really super into all those shows from Japan.
What a nice
and so they asked him, hey, would you like to host this talk show kind of thing? And he was like, fuck yeah, I will.
Yeah.
So he's going to be hosting a new talk show kind of thing. It's already on there. If you have Pluto TV, which is free, this is not a subscription service.
Yeah.
You should probably check out Pluto TV because it's almost like having cable without having cable, because it's basically Pluto TV. If you don't know what it is it has a bunch of channels.
Yeah.
And
it's
on
built
those
into my TV.
Yeah. Most TVs have it built in or whatever, but there's an app. You can watch it on your computer.
Phone and shit.
It's phone and everything. But yeah, it's it has a bunch of channels that air actual TV stations. There's commercials and everything. And you can watch the Tokushoutsu channel.
Oh, okay.
And you don't have to subscribe to anything. You just go to the channel and you can watch whatever's on at that time.
All right.
However, you can also... all the content that's on the Tokushoutsu channel is also available to stream on demand on shoutfactory.tv.
Okay.
So if you go to shoutfactory.tv, you don't have to wait for the next episode to come up of Kamen Rider. You can watch the first 30 episodes.
Okay.
All in your own leisure on there.
I didn't know you knew so much about this.
I don't. So
I was just hey,
live,
that's fun.
It went live.
Yeah.
Tuesday morning at midnight.
Right.
I woke up at 7 a.m. Immediately put it on. It was the only thing playing on my TV the entire day.
Okay.
So,
well, there you go. All right. Well, with that, we're going to take a break so John can watch more of Tokushoutsu, and we get all these questions right. We'll be back in just a minute with some questions. Hey, John.
What?
Are you not ready for questions?
I don't understand the question.
Are you not ready for questions?
I'm ready for questions, if that's what you're asking.
Ah, damn it. I tried to trip you up. I'm going to start writing stuff down. I don't know what good that'll do. I don't know what good writing stuff down would do. In any case, it's time for questions. Mail@ragelight.com is the email address. And our first question this week comes from Marcus. Marcus says, "Hello, Jeff and John, servants of Don Clays, the keeper of the rage. A year ago, I played The Division 2, and I kind of liked it, but got bored quickly. A year later, I am playing the game online with other people, staying indoors, and I'm enjoying the game much more thanks to its cooperative gameplay as people playing agents come together to save civilians and liberate areas of DC. I also joined a cool clan on Discord, and they're awesome. Can you name a game that you initially played and got bored with, but later replayed that game more because of its multiplayer/cooperative online gameplay? This is not a valid question. What's a multiplayer game that you are loving right now? Keep up the great work. Thanks for keeping me happy in these difficult times. Have a great day and rage on. And that is from Marcus.
I don't know. I'm thinking.
I actually have a really strange answer for this question.
Go for it.
Demon Souls. Two of my friends who were super into Demon Souls would not shut the fuck up about it, and I finally got it because they both imported it, and they were playing it for months before it came out in the U.S. And when I finally got it, I put it in, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? The graphics are kind of okay, and it's really hard, and like, I don't know. And then we played through the entire game co-op, and I was like, oh, this is super fun because they were kind of explaining the game to me and telling me how to do stuff and like kind of acting as my Sherpa.
Yeah.
A lot of people have stories about bouncing off of Souls and then having somebody who really knows the franchise like kind of guide them through playing it. So strangely enough, that was a game where like I didn't care for it at first, and then once I kind of got into the co-op, in fact, at the end of the day, I mean, we've talked about it at length, but like, I think one of the reasons that I bounced off of Sekiro is because co-op is easy mode in Souls games, right? You can't beat a boss. You get somebody who has already gotten good, and then you just kind of sit there and watch them beat a boss single-handedly. And in Sekiro, you couldn't do that shit. You had to beat those bosses on your own.
Yeah.
Like Nioh 2 has this system where you can summon in... You remember in Nioh 1 how you could like... If somebody died, they left like a gravestone, and you could like summon in their aggressive phantom and then beat it, and it would give you stuff.
Yeah.
And then in this one, I don't know if this is in the first one, but there's also blue gravestones where you can literally summon in an AI version of another player's character to just like help you out. You can do that, or you can actually just summon people directly into your game. And so with Nioh 2, when I've been playing it, I just kind of play until I like hit a brick wall, and then I don't know, bring somebody else into my game or bring one of the co-op phantoms into my game and just play with them, and it like makes things a little bit easier, and I really appreciate that. So
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, what do you think? Other multiplayer, think of any co-op multiplayer games that you've played over the last few years. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't really gotten into any multiplayer games. Like outside of Overwatch, I haven't really.
Yeah, Overwatch might be a good contender as an answer to that question, mostly because it was like, I was so tired of the Call of Duty just adversarial thing, and this whole kind of like working together to do a thing model was like a lot more, I don't know, just palatable in general.
Yeah. What was his other question?
What's a multiplayer game that you are loving right now?
Right now?
Yes.
I am not playing any multiplayer games at the moment.
Okay.
Like zero. There's none.
Not even WWE 2K20.
I'm not even playing that game. I literally played it for like 10 minutes once each DLC came out and then stopped playing it.
Okay.
Figured I paid for that shit already, so.
You might as well get some.
Try to get some. I enjoyed the bits that I thought were good, and then once I got to the parts that were bad, I stopped.
Let me ask you: Are you hewing more in the Doom Eternal or Animal Crossing direction when it comes to this week?
I mean, I probably just because financially the way things are, neither.
Okay.
Though if you were to ask me to choose which one would I want to play, Doom Eternal obviously is the one I'd want to play.
Okay.
Just because I thought the single player for Doom was so good.
It was so good
that I'll totally play single player for Doom Eternal.
Now we played, was it on a Sunday stream where we played the multiplayer for Doom 2016? And like it was really enjoyable. Like it turned out to be. Would you consider going back to the multiplayer in Doom? No? Okay.
No, I'm just, multiplayer doesn't interest me anymore. I'm too old for that shit. It's a younger man's game.
Yeah, it's kind of how I feel about it too. I kind of just want to sit here by myself and play video games. I don't really want to be involved in somebody else's thing. I'm trying to think.
That's why games of service annoy the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to be dependent on other people to play my fucking game.
Well, you know,
I don't want to have to play my game and then also have to interact with other fucking people who are trying to ruin my game.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. It's funny because like when I was talking to Jason, you know, over the in 2019, right? He played The Division 2 with his brother. He played Red Dead Redemption 2 online with his brother, and then he played Ghost Recon Breakpoint with his brother. And that was why I was so just like, Jason, here is Control. Go play a good game. And I know your brother won't be there, but like go play a good single player game instead of playing these other games. Because I remember asking him like, Jason, what is the story of the Division 2? And he's like, I don't fucking know. You go to a place and you shoot everybody that's there, and then you get the purple guns, and then it's just good. And I'm like, okay. Well, that's why I'm not really super interested in playing these games. So, all right, let's see. Our next question comes in from somebody who did not sign their name. I'm going to call you Bruno. Bruno says, Dear Rage Select, would you rather deal with slow, shambling zombies 24 hours a day or fast zombies active only at night? Rage on. Praise Don, please. And that's from Bruno.
I mean, I'd prefer not to deal with either of them.
Well, that's not in the spirit of the question,
But in the spirit of the question, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm going to die either way.
Yeah.
Because the slow ones are the ones that get you. I feel like they're because you stop thinking about them.
Maybe.
They're the ones that get you.
Yeah.
You get complacent with the fact that they're slow.
Yeah.
And then you make a stupid mistake, and then you can't get away from the slow ones because of your stupid mistake. And then you die. And then the fast ones, they're fast, and you die. So it doesn't matter. Either way, you die.
Right, but do you think that the fast ones are going to keep you like more on your game, that you're going to be like, oh shit, I got to deal with these fast zombies, like I got to really pay attention. I'm going
to go inside at night and never go outside during the nighttime because the fast zombies are only during at night.
Yeah.
And then no, I don't know. I don't know. I'd probably say slow zombies, but either way, I'm going to die.
I think slow zombies 24 hours a day, because slow zombies are slow, and then like you can deal with slow zombies, whereas like big
unless
packs,
there's
like,
a lot of them. Because then you'll die.
Well, yes, obviously. But I also feel like a long time ago, I created a zombie contingency plan for if there are slow zombies, and all you have to do is just like dig a really deep pit and then let the zombies fall in it, and then you just dump a bunch of kerosene in there and set the zombies on fire, and then you wait for the no zombies to come, and you're just like, hey, zombies, over here, and they all just fall into the pit, and then you put more kerosene.
You just have burning zombies.
Well, yeah.
It's not like they die from being put on fire.
Well, I guess it depends on what zombie rules we're playing by, right? Like, if it's Return of the Living Dead zombies, well, then, yeah, I don't want to burn those guys. But if it's Night of the Living Dead zombies, then, like, I don't know, you burn them and then they're dead, right? You've destroyed the brain, right?
Well, no,
burning them.
You shoot the brain to kill them, and then you burn the body to be sure. Like, that's...
But if you set a live zombie on fire, the brain will burn up.
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that?
I don't know about that.
You don't think that's how it works?
They'll flail, and then you got burning zombies chasing
That's
you.
why you put them in the big hole. You dig the big hole
and then
first.
They climb out of the big hole.
No, like you just put like a vertical hole, not like a slope or anything. They can't climb out of a vertical hole. It'd be like throwing that girl down the well in the ring. She can't climb out of there.
They're gonna dig.
They're gonna dig.
Yeah, they're gonna dig out of the side of the hole. Maybe dig a hole. I mean, literally, they have to dig their way out of the graves.
That's true, but that's why you burn them with the kerosene.
But then when they start digging, the dirt puts the fire out.
Maybe. I think, though, I just realized how to beat the Return of the Living Dead zombies is you just like dig a hole. Okay, all my zombie contingency plans start with dig a big hole. First, you got to dig a big hole,
and you got to drop a giant Snickers in it.
Yes, and then when the zombies go in the hole, you back up a truck and you just fill the hole in with cement. And then you just go a little bit further forward and you dig another hole. They can't get out of cement. Like, they're not superhuman. They're just people. Like, they can't break out of cement if they're all in the cement and shit.
Just saying, while you're filling that hole with cement and standing there, basking in your own glory, suddenly you get eaten by a slow zombie that was coming up behind you that you didn't know was there because he was moving slowly.
No, the hole is like a big circle. So I'm just standing in the middle on a little thing. So they can't come from either side. They just keep falling down the hole. I don't think you know how deep the hole that I'm going to dig is.
I don't think you know how holes work.
I know how holes work. I played Minecraft. I know how to get down there and get to the diamonds.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say slow-moving zombies all the time. Because
slow-moving zombies, but really it doesn't matter. Dead either way.
Yeah. I think I could survive the slow-moving zombies. Will writes in and says, hey guys, hope you've been able to steel yourself against the coronavirus hordes threatening to tear society asunder. Will, it's not slow or fast zombies. It's just people that have a cough. I was flipping around YouTube today and recently stumbled across gameplay footage from Poker Night 2, In case you didn't know, it's a poker simulator, except that in this case, your opponents are Brock Sampson from the Venture Brothers, Claptrap from Borderlands, Ash Williams from Army of Darkness, from an Army of Darkness game that apparently exists, and the anthropomorphic dog and cat duo Sam and Max from their series. To top it all off, the dealer is GLaDOS from Portal. Everyone is fully voice acted, and ensuing conversations are just delightful. I recommend you watching some of the conversations on YouTube. My question is, if you were to be the fifth at the table for Poker Night 3, what 4 video game characters would you like to play with? And who would you want to be the dealer? Thanks and best wishes. And that's Will. So what video game players would you want to play poker with, John?
So I do remember the Poker Night franchise. It was it was very, very fun. I think it was Telltale, wasn't it?
Is it Telltale like Valve together or something like that?
I know the first one was Tycho from Penny Arcade with a really weird voice.
Yeah.
And the Heavy?
Yep. I'm pretty sure that was the case.
And I can't remember who the other 2 characters were. I just remember the Heavy and Tycho.
Poker Night at the Inventory,
yeah.
right? It was Strong Bad and Max.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Strong Bad and Max.
Yeah.
And then the second one, was all the characters that he mentioned.
Yeah. It was Brock Sampson, Claptrap.
Ash Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, some of those Evil Dead games, while not great, they were THQ games, but they were actually a lot of fun.
Right, Fistful of Boomsticks.
Yeah, Fistful of Boomstick. It's weird because you have to be careful because there are technically 2. Like there's one Evil Dead game, or not Evil Dead, but Army of Darkness Evil Dead / game that is a direct sequel to like Army of Darkness, and that doesn't have anything to do with the other games.
Okay.
And then there's the other ones that are actually continuing a story. Like it's weird. Like the you got to make sure you're getting the right ones, but they're good. Like they're actually really good.
Okay.
I enjoyed them. They're fun. They got Bruce Campbell voicing Ash, and one of them's got Ted Raimi voicing a sidekick type character.
Okay.
Which is a lot of fun. But anyways, Poker Night at the Inventory.
Yeah.
Modern, I would say, you gotta go with modern.
Sure.
The last one was big on Claptrap and GLaDOS and having. I would say get McCree to be the dealer.
Okay.
That way he's not cheating.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then to kind of go with the style characters, you got to also kind of get one that's not video game related, because they always had at least one that was not specifically video game related,
right?
Like Brock Sampson or Tycho, because I think Strong Bad's game had come out by that point,
right,
or was in development.
Okay.
So you got to have McCree. Maybe he could be a player, or he could be a dealer. Don't care. I'm trying to think. Let's see.
Let's stick with the evil robots. Make Shodan the dealer. What are you thinking? I want Kratos in there. I think Kratos would be fun to play cards with.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have like I was trying to think of people that are kind of like
get what's her name from Control?
Jessie.
Get Jessie in there.
Do you think she has enough character for that though?
I think it could be. You could give her some silly character aspect to it.
Okay.
But
Sterling Archer. I would love to see Archer as like
I would just instead of Jesse, actually, I would say Alan Wake.
Wake,
and then you keep having him go off on pros.
Okay.
Like Alan Wake, McCree. Let's see. This is also I'm going through all like my favorite games.
Yeah.
Here, so.
I was thinking you could do like just the old man brigade, where it's like Kratos and Kiryu Kazama and just like a bunch of old video game characters. It would be kind of nice to have JRPG or some Japanese representation.
Get Joker from
Persona.
From Persona.
Yeah, but he doesn't really have much personality.
Yeah,
it'd probably be better to do like one of the other characters. Maybe like Morgana, like the little cat.
I didn't really play the game, so I don't know who they are.
Or like Teddy from 4, like one of the mascot characters.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm just trying to think of what the game's Sam Porter Bridges.
Yeah, you totally get Sam Porter Bridges.
I'm trying to think what my favorite games from 2020 were.
That game doesn't seem so crazy anymore. By the way, Death Stranding.
Nobody leaves, and they just got people walking around delivering packages.
Yes, I think I made the comment about, I was like, is this how we get to, no one's leaving their homes, everyone's having packages delivered themselves. Is this how we get Death Stranding? And then Michael's like, yeah, I have this image of like the Favor and the whatever the other
like DoorDash
person fighting over who's going to deliver me tacos.
Yeah. And then there comes that mission where I've just got to like zip John up in a sleeping bag and like put him on my back and then fucking walk around with John in a sleeping bag on my back.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So yeah, Sam Porter Bridges is fine. What's some other?
I get Mario in there. I
want to get Spider-Man, specifically the Spider-Man from the Marvel Spider-Man game.
Okay.
Like let's get that Spider-Man, McCree, Alan Wake, and I want to get one other crazy one in there. I want to try to go with something a little left field that people might not expect.
I mean, you gauge pop culture one, right? Because I mean, Brock Samson wasn't in a game.
No, he wasn't in a game at that time.
So
it'd probably end up being like Rick of Rick and Morty, or even Morty.
Or Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
That would probably be, if there was a real game, that would probably be what it is, because that's about the popularity of where, like, that show is at the popularity that Venture Brothers was at the time when that game came out.
Yeah. I still like Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
I enjoy Rick and Morty.
And plus, with him making video games and also voicing said video games, the voice actor.
Justin Roiland.
Yeah, Justin Roiland.
Yeah, between the Trover and virtual accounting, or Accounting Plus.
Yeah, so you probably get Rick and Morty.
You could just make like the.
Oh, I know who I want the dealer to be.
Okay,
and it's totally left field.
Okay,
it is video game related, but not video game character.
Oh, look out!
Fucking Jeff Keighley.
Okay, with Jeff Keighley, maybe do it where like film Jeff Keighley in front of a green screen.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Bad
it's like
FMV from the 80s
bad
game.
FMV. Like Jeff Keighley is totally the dealer. He's dealing the cards out.
Yeah,
he's hosting it like it's an award show or some weird shit. But just it's fucking Jeff Keighley.
Okay. All right,
Mr. Vanilla fucking Jeff Keighley himself.
I can see that.
But yeah, I'd be or Kojima. Just Kojima, not even a Kojima character. Just get Kojima.
What about? Oh man, I know I've brought him up like a bunch of times. What about that guy that was like the? It was like the spokesman for PlayStation like several years back. That was like the
Sagata.
It was like just like a regular looking guy.
The wore the karate gi and would always like you can succeed.
No. The guy that was like he was just like a white guy that was wearing a shirt and he would get out there and just like kind of yell. He was at E3 that one year where he did that whole speech about like gamers. He was in a bunch of commercials that were like
the
weird...
for Sony.
What's that?
For Sony.
Yeah, for Sony.
Okay, I thought you said Sega. Sorry.
Oh, I might have. I don't know. I'm running on coffee.
For Sony. Yeah, I can't remember what his name was, but yeah,
Keep forgetting the name of that guy. Yeah,
it was bad when he did a Firestone commercial and promoted Nintendo products on it.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Let's take
Kevin Butler.
Kevin Butler. Hey, look at that. John knows stuff.
Took me a second.
Let's see. Mauricio writes in and says, "Sup guys, Mauricio here. Hearing the podcast at 3x speed." I don't know. Wow, you listen to the podcast at 3x speed? Okay.
So there's some people that listen to podcasts and other stuff at 3x speed just so,
you just got to get going.
Yeah, you get through it. Get through it as much. It helps with exercise if you're running or jogging or whatever.
Okay. So watching Woolly Doom 2016 Let's Play and Pat RE6 stream from former Super Best Friends got me thinking of these questions. Question one: I'm surprised how amazing Doom 2016 is. Since I played it 4 years ago, I forgot most of the game. What are some games that you played many years later and forgot how good they were? And watching the RE6 stream. Holy moly, is that game as bad as I remember? So it's a game that you guys liked in the past, but now you know that it's like way worse. And what's a game? And three, what's a game you really like but are holding back from giving it a perfect 9 or 10?
Okay.
And then thanks and talk later. I'd say. Okay, yeah. Let's just start at the beginning. Games you played a long time ago, and you forgot how totally good they are. until you put them back in and played them recently.
Well, I mentioned it earlier. Def Jam Fight for New York.
Okay,
it's a fucking amazing game.
Okay,
and it's like it is so good as a fighting game. Like it is criminal how good it is as a fighting game.
Yeah,
like there's a reason people keep bringing it up and keep wanting them to either make a proper sequel. Let's forget Def Jam Icon ever existed.
Right.
Even though that wasn't as bad as people make it out to be, but it was still fucking terrible. Comparatively. But Def Jam Fight for New York is it's a great, it has this outlandish story, and it's a great fighting game. It goes well past its wrestling roots of the engine. But I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing. That was a really good game. And I play it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking good.
So I think that the problem that I keep having is that, like, I don't revisit old games very much. Like the games that I go back and play are games I know are good. Right? Yeah. So like, I mean, like the last time that I went back to play an old game was probably I was doing some testing with my Raspberry Pi, and I loaded up the Castlevania Circle of the Moon GBA game. But like I know that game is really good. Like I remember that game was really good.
I think what he's asking is like games that you know are good, but then like you didn't remember how good it was. Like you're like, I know it's good, and I want to play it again for whatever reason. And you start playing, you're like, fuck, I forgot how good this game was.
I think I don't. The main problem is going backwards. You know what though? I do have an example for that, and it was recently Michael and I when we played all the way on Patreon through God of War.
Yeah,
and I kind of forgot how fucking good God.
Yeah.
Like it was. I mean, I remember lauding all this like this attention on, but I played it once, right? And I was like, that game was great. And then I kind of continued on because there's always a million games on my plate, right? But then we went back to play it for Patreon, and I was just like, fuck, man, this is like there was a reason that I was so impressed with this. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, like I feel like the way like that is going to happen with Control for me. Like I, it's a good game. I fucking love it. It was game. We all said it was game of the year or whatever.
Yep.
And then like 6 years from now, I'm going to go back and play it, and I'm going to be like, fuck, this is really good.
It kind of happened to me a little bit with Spider-Man. When the DLCs came out, and it had been like a few months, and then I went back to Spider-Man. I was just like, oh right. This game is fun as hell to play.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't think there's much outside of like when DLC for a thing comes out that I don't really have time to go back and replay old games. That's really where the big thing is coming from. So like sometimes in the Patreon stuff that we end up playing, we'll go back to an older game and it's like, oh shit, this is really good. Michael and I still haven't started up a brand new Patreon sequential. He's really, really wants us to go play Spider-Man on New Game Plus and just skip all of the side content and just mainline the main story entry. Yeah. And I'm still considering it. I'm really rooting for OG BioShock personally, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so a game that you liked more previously, and then you went back and played it, and you were like, this is as good as I remember. I do have an answer for this one.
Okay.
Because your wife and I are playing it right now. I remember having so much fun with Fatal Frame 2 when I played it back in the old days when it came out, and we're playing it now, and it's like, it's fine. It's just not nearly as good as I remembered it, right? There was a lot of nostalgia blinders on for that one. So going back to play it, and I was just like, oh, right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Like I know. I guarantee you there are like 100 games that are probably actually Star Wars Jedi Academy.
Oh, okay.
Like not Jedi Outcast, not Jedi Knight 2, but Jedi Academy. I remember really liking when it came out. Like maybe not as much as Jedi Knight 2.
Yeah.
Jedi Outcast, or Dark Forces 2 Jedi Outcast or whatever it's called. But I remember liking Jedi Academy, and that game is hard to go back and play.
Yeah,
like I tried to play it a little while back, and fuck, did I hate that game.
I find there's a weird impediment for me a lot of times in going back to, like, I feel like it kind of happened without us maybe even realizing it, how standardized control schemes have gotten for different genres of games, where sometimes when you go back too far, you're like, oh, this control's like garbage. And like at the time, I had no expectations about how this game would control.
Or
so
at the time, that was the best we had at the time.
Right. And then you go back and you're like, oh shit.
Well, a lot of times it's also games that I played on PC, and playing them on PC was like they were designed to be played with a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
And then I also feel like the Jedi Knight game and stuff like that, and then going to play it on a control, and the controls don't necessarily work on a console controller, and it's just kind of like, oh right, these are not good. I found that out with that game Dusk that I played about a month ago, where we played it on the show, and I played it with a controller, and it is not that kind of game. It is an old school, like you got to put the 1 pixel aiming reticle over the guy's head at a distance and spin around 360 degrees. It's like a very old school Doom style, Quake style, high action, high precision game. And so I wasn't having very much fun with it playing with a controller, but then when I went and played it with mouse and keyboard, it was like, oh, this is how it was supposed to be played. And I kind of fucked myself on that. All right, and then so a game that you really like, but you're holding back, giving it a perfect 9 or 10. Else says, P.S. If it's a loading time, then I don't count those. Well, a game that I really liked, but I'm holding back on giving a 9 or a 10.
I don't give any game 10.
I gave Control a 10.
Yeah,
I'd give Control a 10.
Yeah. It was really, really good. I just don't really believe in this such thing as, well, that's not true.
I would also like to say I don't consider 10 to mean perfect game.
Right. Just kind of perfect to you.
Yeah, it's perfect for what it is.
Okay.
That's why there are games that I could say are better that may not get a 10.
Yeah.
But that could be conceivably seen as better than Control.
I'm trying to think of a reason that I would a game that I would think was like perfect, except for, see, the problem is that I feel like that criteria or that question is more for like people that do a lot more game reviews. Because we don't really give things scores.
And I don't sit there and go, oh man, this game's obviously I say I would give Control a 10, but I don't sit there and go, oh man, I would totally give Control a 10, or I would give, I don't know, the Marvel Spider-Man game,
right?
A 9, or Judgment, an 8. And actually, I would say if there was any game that would probably fall into that, would probably be Judgment.
Yeah.
And the only reason is because it's literally reusing the same, a slightly modified level from the Yakuza games. Yeah, from Yakuza 6.
See, it's funny because I found that to be a positive.
No, I do think it's a positive.
Yeah.
But it also holds it back from being, in my mind, a perfect game, because it also relies so heavily on you knowing that town from the Yakuza games, or knowing that area of the Yakuza games.
Yeah.
So, and if you've never played those Yakuza games, it can seem a little...
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I love Judgment. Judgment is like, I love that game.
I'm just trying to think of, like, I feel it when I like a game, I'm willing to ignore a lot of
same here
other stuff. So when I like a game, and I know there have been some games out there that were like, well, this would have been good except for maybe like this one thing that really just kind of dragged the game down. But then in that case, if I didn't like the game, I didn't like the game. Yeah. So it's more of a binary. It's more of a Steam thumbs up, thumbs down thing.
And a kind of an opposite side of the coin, but almost a similar issue. Mad Max. I love that game. The driving that game is so fucking good.
Yeah.
The fight scene, it's the Batman Arkham fight mechanics.
Right.
There's you can't fuck that up. I mean, you can, but it's hard to do it, especially if you're doing it well. And it's a team that's competent in at least mimicking that.
Yeah.
The problem with that game is that because of the way it's too spaced out. Like, it's just...
You spend a lot of time going from place to place.
Place to place without a fast travel, or, well, it has a fast travel, but it's kind of whatever. But it can be a little like, okay, this is kind of boring to drive from place to place.
Yeah.
But I really like that game too.
I guess I'm still trying to just think of, I know there's got to be something out there, but I'm just trying to think of something where I was like, man, this game would have been perfect except for this one thing I wish they would have changed, because as so often, I mean, like I said, it's just that one thing that I wish they changed. Like, if it's a big impact, then I don't have as good of feelings towards a game, and if it's less, then I'm usually able to just overlook it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, in most cases, I'm able to overlook that. But yeah, I also, like we said earlier, I don't look at games and go, oh, I give this game a 9. I give this game a 10. I don't beat a game and go, oh, I'm going to grade this game and then never.
You know what? I got an answer. Sekiro. I played all of Sekiro, and then I bounced off the last boss because it's too fucking hard. And like, if that last boss had been less hard, I would have beaten that game. I probably would have had a lot of good things to say about it because I played through Sekiro. I learned the parry system. I played the entire game, and all but like 3 of the bosses, like there's one optional boss, and then there's a little bit of optional content I never went to, but I sussed my way through a lot of those bosses. I fucking banged my head up against it till I memorized the things, got to the last boss, kills you in 2 hits. There was no way for me to power up. There was no way for me to try to come at it from a different angle. There was no way for me to summon somebody in to help me. It was just like, congratulations, you've reached the end of the game, and you can't finish the game because it's too hard. And I just had to give up. I just had to give up. I just had to stop. Like, it was too frustrating. I got so frustrated. If Sekiro had a way to either level up, a way to summon other people in, or that last boss was a little bit less difficult. It didn't have to be like super not difficult, but like just a little bit less difficult, and I would have been able to do it. But I just wasn't interested in banging my head up against it. I tried beating that boss for 4 or 5 hours straight, and it just made me madder and madder until the point where I was like, well, I'm not going to enjoy this game anymore. And so I liked the rest of it. That was the one thing that turned me off to it.
Yeah.
So there's an answer. There's one.
Okay.
So, all right, let's do some Discord questions real fast, and we'll finish it up here. Let's see what we got over here. Boo, 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 boo. Let's see. Where did we leave off Discord questions?
I don't know. I haven't been here for 2 weeks.
Yes. Kate Josie writes in and says, hey, Jeff and John. This is mainly for Jeff. But, John, I think you could actually answer this question a little bit as well.
Pizza.
I am about to make my own puppets for a short film that I'm making. What are some tips that you have for filming with puppets? Also, have you thought about making co-host puppets? Thanks for everything. And that's from Kate Josie. I thought about making co-host puppets, but I liked people have been asking that forever.
Yeah.
I kind of like the aesthetic of a person and a puppet. Like, it's a little bit more Sesame Street than just having 2 puppets, right?
Yeah.
We kind of had the Jason puppet at the beginning, and that was fine. But I kind of dig the other way around. As far as shooting them, I don't know. That's kind of like whenever we shoot the puppets for Rage Select, you know, the biggest problem is just making sure that the camera cuts off so you can't see the arm that is going into the puppet, right?
The biggest thing I would say is your preparation. Yeah. One is you need to have some sort of monitor. For Rage Select, we actually use the viewer, the LCD screen from the camera, because we're close enough to the camera, because we have to be close up, that Jeff can properly frame the puppet and actually look at that when he's acting, so that he can make sure that that he's not going out of frame or not moving his arm into frame, and things like that. So big thing is a monitor, especially depending on the way you're planning on filming. If this is like something where your puppets may be far away from the camera, you whoever's puppeteering needs some way to see what they're doing, because sometimes they may be thinking, oh, I'm puppeteering and the puppet's looking in this one spot, but the problem is that your vision is going to be below that puppet.
Sure.
So what you're thinking it's looking at is not actually where that puppet's actually looking.
Yeah.
And knowing the best way to know where it's looking is to have some sort of monitor that you can look at and then look at the camera and see. And literally, I would suggest if you've never puppeteered anything for video, there's tons of YouTube help stuff for this. I think even like Jim Henson Company has put out like tips and tricks and things for like puppeteering and stuff like that that I would highly recommend looking at.
Yeah.
But there's a thing where basically it's just your puppet in front of a screen, and you're looking at the monitor. And because the big thing to do is because the monitor you're looking at is also reversed, so like when you're turning left on your side, it's not necessarily mirrored.
Yeah, on the camera that I use, when you turn it around, it flips it.
It flips the mirror. Yeah,
it flips it so that it's lined up. But yeah. If you're taking the direct feed, it's going to be
weird. So you have to kind of practice, like have a second person there who will say like left corner, and then you have the puppet look at the left corner of the screen, and then they'll say right corner or bottom corner or whatever. Have someone there giving you direction, and then you moving the puppet to look in the directions it is, so that you're looking at the screen and making your puppet so that you're kind of getting the brain recognition of seeing it move a certain way, but also you moving your hand a certain way.
I've also had to do a lot over the years, some digital zooms, because sometimes if the puppet moves around too much, the arm will come into the frame for a couple of things. So every so often you might see, we haven't done any in a while, but you might have seen a Rage Select intro where it seemed like for some reason the framing was super tight for some reason, and a lot of times that's because I had to literally enlarge the image to move it so that my arm didn't accidentally come into frame at a certain point. One thing that we actually do that I don't know that people know is if you were to watch our intros, Jeff Puppet is smaller than if you were to see Jeff Puppet in real life next to, say, John, Jeff Puppet would be smaller than he looks on camera, because we have the couch in the studio and I put the puppet in front and then the person that's acting with them goes behind it. So we have like a little bit of a forced perspective Lord of the Rings thing to make Jeff Puppet just a little bit bigger, because otherwise I would be real small. Like I think there's actually been a couple where I was doing like Jeff Puppet as a child, or like as a baby or a young person, where I tried to change it to bring the person in the same plane as where the puppet was, so that the puppet did look smaller than that. It depends on the background, but you can also do a lot of we've done a lot of cutting the frame, so making sure that there's space between the two people that are on there, and then literally having two versions of the footage where you can then squeeze them back together again in After Effects to make them look like they're closer together. Practice is also a big thing. I think that I'm pretty good with Jeff Puppet, and I think it's because I've done it so much that I can kind of like emote through my arm.
yes. So it's gotten to a point where, if I feel like, no offense, Jeff, if you look at some of your early videos with the puppets,
sure,
you're not that good.
No.
But over time,
just doing it,
gets from doing it and learning what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's again goes back to the whole thing of practice your scenes. I mean, hell, whenever we did an intro, we would always try to do it in one take, but it almost never worked. And sometimes we would do a take that we all really liked, and we'd be like, let's do it one more time.
Let's do another one, just in case. And
let's try to tighten it up a little bit.
I'm not Ed Wood over here. I'm not a one take Jeff.
We would sometimes try to do it in one take just because it's late and some of us want to go home.
Sure.
But like we kind of. Sometimes we'll do like a cold rehearsal or whatever, but you want to practice. You want to try to get the scene together, and it.
Also, I can also say that I don't know what kind of puppet you're using. Like if it's a hand puppet, this may not work. But the other thing is, okay, I want to make perfectly clear here, John, that I'm not like calling anybody out or do anything, but I saw Corey has a puppet that he uses on his video game thing, and he uses that puppet for a really extended period of time. And I was thinking, like, I can't do, like, I have to rest my hand if we do more than 3 takes, because I put everything into that arm, right? It's clenched up, and so what I'm trying to say is very much use the physicality of the puppet, because the puppets don't have facial expressions, right? Or like Hoggle has facial expressions or but like when it comes to something like a Kermit or Jeff Puppet or things like that, it's like you need to do a lot with body language, because your character's eyes don't move, your character doesn't blink, your character doesn't have like the sort of facial body language to convey emotion. So you need to like really work the body language, like really, really as much as possible, work the body language to try to get
and even doing like
emotions.
Little things, like when your character like is gonna inhale, like go, like having the character kind of lift up a little bit, like he's breathing in, like little movements are also essential for puppeteering, because if you're just standing in one spot and just moving the mouth up and down, that doesn't always work.
It's actually one of the reasons why the Dark Crystal Netflix show was weird to me, was because I felt like the Gelflings didn't have a lot of facial movement, but then they moved them very conservatively, and so I wasn't getting, like, when you watch the Muppets, like, they're just fucking bouncing up and down, they're really moving around a lot. And I feel like that can convey a lot more emotion than just than even your tone of voice. Remember, and we'll probably end up on this, but remember that when you talk to people, that it's like, what is it? It's like 50% like your body language and like 20% your facial expression, and then only like 20% what's actually coming out of your mouth. Like, people really get a lot of information based on your body language and your facial expression. Your puppets don't have facial expression, so you really have to lean into body language to sell. If your puppet is irritated, if your puppet is happy, if they're angry,
Also, it's funny because I actually went and took a seminar on puppeteering.
Oh, trying to show me up your mad puppet skills?
No, it was something that was happening, and it was something I could go to, and it was on a day off, and it was just like, I've always wanted to go to one. And one thing that they kind of pointed out, that's something that a lot of people make as a mistake, and I think you did it at first, but you don't do it anymore. And it's something I kind of noticed, I've never actually said to you, because is that people who have like those arm rod puppets, like what Puppet Jeff is, where you have the rods that hold the arms and you can move them, they want to hold the hands up and puppeteer at the same time. And the thing is that if you have, one big tip I can say is that unless what you're doing specifically has hand gestures to do, let go. Just let the arms dangle with the rods, because the weight of the rods will make them move realistically to how your character is moving. And then if you actually look at people who are puppeteering, because I actually watch a lot of videos of people who puppeteer. There's a puppeteer, Grant Bakayoko. I always fuck up his last name. Okay. But he was the puppeteer for Crow T Robot in the newest incarnation of MST3K. Not the voice, but the puppeteer. He does a puppet series called Toily Tea Paper.
Yeah, BACIOCCO.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a lot of videos of him puppeteering. Specifically, if you watch his live, like, he puts up videos of his live show with Toily Tea Paper, which is this very raunchy puppet that's a roll of toilet paper.
I saw he did the can of vegetables in Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff. He worked for Jim Henson. He did the Henson Puppet Up tour, which is the first place I ever saw him. And he's just all over the place. He's very but like I said, and if you watch some of these videos, because it's a stage show, and where it's just him on stage with this puppet, and like it's not him, it's the puppet, but you can clearly see him. He's a person, and look at how he's like holding the arm rods, because unless the puppet is actually doing something that is moving the arm, and the arm is performing an action, he's not holding those rods. 9 times out of 10, he might just have it resting in his palm,
right,
just to kind of get the hand so that they're not completely down at the side. But it's something that I see that a lot of people do, is that they want to hold the arm rods and they want to hold the arms up, and so it just kind of looks like the puppet is standing there with their arms in front of them.
Right.
Like,
I always hold one of them, the one that's closer to the camera, but I don't ever bring it up unless it's needed.
Yeah.
It's mostly just because
it gives your arm something to do.
Well, it gives the arms, I don't know. I mean, like, when a person is standing still, their arms aren't just kind of like limp, but like you can still hold it down. Like, I don't bring it up unless we're doing a thing where we bring it up.
Well, the way you do it works for the type of videos.
Unless I've had to tape that stupid gun to Puppet Jeff's hand for the fucking 100th time. So either Puppet Jeff could be pointing that gun at somebody, or somebody else is pointing that gun at Puppet Jeff.
Yep.
Brian Salisbury gave me that gun a long time ago, and it's got a lot of use on Rage Select since then. All right, let's see if we can do just a couple more, then we'll get out of here. Inner Slicey says, hey, Jeff and John, with E3 being canceled this year, and with the overall increasing lack of interest in the show as a whole from the public, do you think it will return next year? Personally, I think it may come back as one final show before going away or changing into something completely different. Having listened to a bunch of feedback from people in the industry, marketing, and the average gamer, I get the sense that E3 is primarily just a convenience for journalists and people in marketing in today's age. Plus, having a year off will allow companies to see how their bottom line will be affected or won't. What do you think? Thanks for all the hours of entertainment. And that's from Interslicing.
I think we'll definitely see it come back at least once. But I also kind of feel like it'll just kind of always be there, but maybe not with the importance that we give it, which is kind of where it's been.
I think it's really going to depend on what happens this year.
Yeah, it is.
Like if everybody does their own show and they release a bunch of demos and it's like the best E3 ever because everybody gets to kind of like participate instead of just watching it. I personally think that it's become really redundant. Because there's lots of other ways to do it. All right, let's do one last one from Professor Thorgy. Professor Thorgy says, hello, Jeff and John. I saw a post on Twitter that asked if you had to erase one company, meaning all the games they ever made would vanish from reality, having never existed, then who would you choose between Capcom, Konami, Square Enix, and Sega? I really had to think about this one, but I thought it would make for an interesting discussion on the show. Thanks, Ray John, and that's from Professor Thorgy. So Capcom, Konami, Square Enix, and Sega, you got to pick one, and everything they've ever made is gone.
Well, my initial instinct is actually Konami.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because they have the least amount of games that I play.
Sure. Yeah.
But they also have some good games.
Yeah.
That
I thought, wasn't there a thing last week where they said that there's like these rumblings that Sony is trying to broker a deal between Konami and Kojima for him to go back and do Silent Hills.
Yeah.
Like with them working as like a middleman to keep Konami from being a butthole. I mean, like the thing is that if it would erase all their games, right, that would mean that there was never Silent Hill, Castlevania, Metal Gear.
Yeah, and that's
all that
kind of
stuff
like
would be gone. So I'm trying to. That's where I'm thinking is like, which company would it have the least effect on me if all their games were gone? I think it's Sega. Like, and I know that by Sega I'd be losing Yakuza
and Bayonetta.
And that's,
well, I mean, now Bayonetta's not Sega, but it originally was.
Right. But I don't know that there's that many Sega titles outside of Yakuza, which I like Bayonetta, right? But I mostly like Bayonetta 1.
Which is the one that was technically still under Sega.
Right. So, I mean, because like my first instinct was Capcom because I still have some ill will towards Capcom, but Resident Evil is too. I like Resident Evil a lot, and Street
I like
Fighter,
the Devil May Cry franchise too.
Devil May Cry. Matt and I were talking about Onimusha. We're talking about what if Onimusha got remade like the RE remakes are being done. I think that Capcom's got a pretty fair stable of stuff, like Mega Man, and there's a lot of stuff that Capcom's done. I think that Sega is the one that I would miss the least, right? I don't think I would get rid of Squeenix just because, even though I'm not a big fan of what they're doing right now, I've been a big fan of stuff they've done in the past for a long-ass time.
Yeah.
And Konami, getting rid of Konami would remove Metal Gear and Castlevania and Silent Hill and those stuff back when Konami. I mean, Capcom came back for the brink, man. Konami could do it too.
True.
Maybe someday.
They got out of the stop paying so much to pachinko machines.
Yeah. So I think for me it's Capcom. I don't know about you, but for me I think Sega. Sega. For me it's Sega.
I think, like I said, initially my reaction is Konami, but the more I think about it, I don't know. It's a hard choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't.
You got to do it. We got a zombie to your head.
I like. I got
a
Sega
hole.
too much. I like
Capcom's
games too much.
Right.
Because I like Sega too much to get rid of Judgment or.
Well, it's the whole
Yakuza,
question, right? Which one do you like more?
So I think I still stand by Konami, even though I hate losing Castlevania and some of the earlier Silent Hill stuff.
Okay, it works for me. I mean, Konami is the one. Konami is probably the company on that list with the least like potential for the future, right?
Yeah.
Like if you had to just say, get rid of one of these, all their games stay, but no, they won't make anything else in the future. I think that Konami would be a pretty good. That would be at the top of the list right now.
I mean, I think that's where Konami is right now as a company.
Yeah,
they don't give two shits about video games.
Yes. So, all right. Oh wait, you know what? There's one more question that came from the email that I just want to answer real fast because somebody asked. There seems to be a lot of questions about Going into the etymology of my specific fears about spiders and like things about my specific fear of spiders. And so Vanish Knight wrote in and said, "Hey Jeff, are you also scared of crabs? Crabs are underwater cousins of spiders." No, because crabs are delicious, and anything that's delicious is not scary to me. So if spiders were delicious, and we just grew up eating spiders, they're like, "Hey man, we're gonna go down to Red Lobster. It's all you can eat spider festival this week." And I'd be like, "Ooh, yay! They're delicious. You dip them in butter, and they taste great. You use a little thing, you can crack those spiders open and suck out all the little spidery guts, and they're delicious." If that was the case, I wouldn't be afraid of spiders either. If we ate them, but I'm not afraid of anything that we eat, John. Nothing that human beings eat.
By eating it, you are proving you are the dominant life form.
Goddamn right I am.
And you have gained its power.
I'm not going to say that I could take a cow in like a one-on-one punch fight, because cows are pretty big. They're also pretty stupid, though. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things. Like, if a lot of chickens attacked me, I might die, but I'm not afraid of them. I'd be willing to go down swinging, right? Pigs are pretty nasty. I don't know. Is there an animal that you eat that you're afraid of?
No.
Okay. There you go. So all we need to do is get zombie on the diet, right? And then everybody's not afraid of zombies anymore.
That's cannibalism.
No, they're already dead.
It's still cannibalism.
Okay.
If you eat the dead flesh of a dead person, that's still cannibalism.
Listen. We're going to put them in the pit and cover them in kerosene. And then when we burn them all up, we got to get rid of them somehow, John. So you're going to have to eat some zombie. You got to eat some zombie, man. Take this arm. This arm. You got to eat it.
That's your arm.
No, it's fine. It's fine, man. I don't need it.
Are you a zombie?
I don't need it. You got to tell me.
Bye.